and he was ripped. He was very fit, and we became friendly in those 10 flights of stairs we hiked together. And he said, meet me in the morning, we'll start training together. And I didn't realize you were here. And we became buddies. I met him in the morning, I started training, and he introduced me to adventure racing. Anybody know what an adventure race is? Typically it was like a kayak, a bike, a swim, a run, and I fell in love. I absolutely loved it. But I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I was running around the world doing these races, and I kept thinking, could I put on a race? So the first race we put on was called Expedition BVI. It was 2001. It was in the BVI, British Virgin Islands. And it was a disaster. I lost $500,000, which I didn't have, and I lost a guy. I lost a guy for 8 days. He drifted in a boat. No one noticed that he drifted away. He drifted 150 miles to a deserted island. And 8 days later, when we found out he was missing, we got the Coast Guard involved. We thought he was dead. We found him on this deserted island. He had been eating crabs and drinking bottled water, which also drifted to the island. I don't know if you know that story or not. And maybe you want to rethink our partnership. And we found him, and I thought I was going to get sued, and he got off the helicopter, and he said, I am starving, can we go to dinner? So I happily bought him dinner, and that was the first race we ever put on. Obviously, I shouldn't have continued, but I put on a second race and a third race, and at most, 50 people would show up, 80 people would show up. A lot of people I would lie to them and tell them it was a barbecue because I couldn't get them to come to the race. And I'd wake them up really early, and they'd say, why are we waking up early for a barbecue? And I'd say, well, we got to get the barbecue to the top of the mountain. And I would coax them into doing 10 or 15 miles. Anyway, fast forward 2009, 2010, we decided to change the format. We changed the name to Spartan, and all of a sudden 700 people showed up. And then 1,500 people showed up. And today, we are in 42 countries, correct me where I'm wrong, 42 countries, 1.1 million participants annually, about a 6 million person community that are just like people here, amazing. We meet them on trains and planes. I mean, everywhere I go, you're there. You're everywhere. Any country, anywhere in the world, you're there. And so here we are. So where are we going? For us, our mission is to change 100 million lives. And it's not realistic to think that 100 million people are going to come out and do races, but if we could sprinkle a little spark in everybody's life. So maybe they take the stairs instead of the elevator. Maybe they eat a little less salt. Maybe they don't drink a soda. Maybe they drink water instead. That's our goal, is to get people to wake up to this idea of health and wellness. Today I spent a day in Cambridge with a preeminent Spartan professor. He studied Sparta for 52 years. And that was their whole thing. Their whole thing was taking care of the structure, they called it, their body. And they felt that if they took care of this, everything else fell into place. They took a really holistic view at themselves. It wasn't just intellect. It wasn't just physical fitness. It was poetry. It was mathematics. It was everything. And so our goal is to get people to think that way again. Get off the screens. Start looking at other people. Right? Get back into community. By the way, the Spartans were the first in the ancient world. Women were equal with them. Women owned land. Women competed in the Olympics. First gold medal, female, from Sparta. So that was awesome to discuss today. What else do we want to go over?
No, kidding. I guess one thing that not everyone knows about is the brand going beyond just events. So the nutrition.
Yeah, so our consumers for 18 years have been asking us, hey Joe, how do I train? How do I eat? What do I wear? How do I think? And so we try to answer those questions very authentically and have a solution for them on how to eat healthy, how to train properly. We believe in mobility and flexibility. It's not enough to just be strong. It's not enough to just be fast. You shouldn't get so focused on one sport that you got injuries. So we're big on flexibility and mobility. We're big on plant-based diet. If we can lean in any direction, it would be more plant-based. The mind, we take a very resilient approach. Last night I said I came in just like all of you, I walked into the hotel and they asked me, how was your flight? And my immediate answer is, well, it landed, right? So that's the mindset we preach. Like, it would suck if it didn't land, right? If the plane didn't land, that would have been a disaster. So if you set the bar, like, I carry around that kettlebell over there pretty much everywhere I go all the time. And I do that to reset my frame of reference because it sucks. I hate it. On the train, off the train, the camera is back. But as soon as I put it down, it's like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I don't even know why I'm happy because I'm not carrying the kettlebell. So like, we talk a lot in the modern world today about happiness, and we're all chasing happiness, but I believe happiness is that delta, right, between expectations and reality. And so I just lower my expectations, right? I make it suck a little bit, lower my expectations, so like all of a sudden the water is great because I'm not carrying the kettlebell. If that makes sense. So that's the mindset aspect to so I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, no, sure. And then just talk a little bit about the craft deal and where we're going with the merchandise.
So Craft is a company you probably never heard of out of Sweden. That's Craft right here. They actually invented the layering system that now we wear to whip the moisture away from our body, and we've got 3 layers on it. Invented in the 70s. They're not a super large company, but we partnered with them, and they're making really cool technical Spartan gear. To answer that question, what should I wear? And we're selling it all over the globe, and we're super excited to be partnered with them.
And then
Rakuten, Stuart there. You guys, anybody ever hear of Rakuten? You guys know Rakuten, FC Barcelona, right? Golden State Warriors. So are you at Rakuten? Oh, nice. Okay, cool. You know Rakuten. You guys know Rakuten. So we partnered with them, 3-4 months ago? And Stuart's the CEO of one of their most important division. And so super and located. Are you guys close to here? Yeah. Cool. And then you're going to be doing all the races this year in the UK. Nice. Good. All right.
So can you tell us a bit more about the diversity, the women, the
So it's a truly gender neutral brand. We've done lots of studies with male and female folks in separate rooms. And the females say they want to race with the men. They want to carry the same weights. They want to do everything just like the men. And when we look at the statistics at the race, it's funny. Top 10, in many cases, you'll see women beating men. So not that should be a shock, but it's a pretty rugged race. And the reality is, just physically, it's harder for a woman to carry an 80-pound everywhere. But women beat men. Women tend to go by the men in the course and tap them on the butt and say, hey, better luck next time. So very gender neutral brand. Very much like ancient Sparta. Right? What else?
Well, we have increasingly seen more adaptive athletes.
We have an adaptive athlete first ever world championship we had just now right outside of Vegas. And so lots of adaptive athletes come out. There's a group in the U.S., I don't know if you know it, called Oscar Mike. Oscar Mike is a radio call signal in the military that means on the move. So even if there's incoming fire and you get the call, Oscar Mike, we're on the move, you're going into it. And so these guys and women call themselves Oscar Mike Foundation. And so I was meeting with them, and I was so inspired, and I asked them, do you have a tattoo of your Oscar Mike? And they said, no. Do you have a tattoo of Spartan? And I said, no. And they said, well, if we ever see each other again, we'll get tattoos. And we jokingly brushed it off. 6 months later, I ran into them at West Point, where there's like 9,000 tattoo parlors. And so I got a tattoo on my leg about the Oscar Mike Foundation. He got a tattoo of Spartan. And so we're big supporters of adaptive athletes. Big supporters. So much so it's on my leg. My wife was pissed.
Maybe talk about the kids in terms of where that's going and the world championships.
Yeah, so we got about 100,000 plus kids annually coming through the system, and the goal, George, right? George is our new CEO of the kids division, and our goal is to really ramp that up because, like with any sport, that's the next generation. And that's really the most impressionable generation. Those are the human beings we could really change. And so we're doing more documentaries on kids. We're really getting much more involved in kids. I don't know what you're doing in the UK here, but I assume you're following the protocol.
Well, here's Stuart's bringing the whole school
Nice.
to run a race, which is great. So, and I guess the one thing that a lot of people ask about is what's the trifecta? Could you maybe just explain? For those
Does
who don't
anybody here
know what it
not
is?
know what a trifecta is? How you doing, by the way? Trifecta, yes, no? Do we know what it is? Everybody? Kind of, I'll tell you quickly. Sprint, Super Beach, you do the 3 races, the medals clip together. By the way, I don't know if you know the story, but I realized early on that it would be hard to change people's lives with just one race. I knew that if you sign up for an event, it doesn't have to be a Spartan race, it could be a marathon, 5K, 10K, even getting married, whatever thing you sign up for, that then drives change. That gets you to start training, eating healthy, go to bed early, drink a little less, eat less French fries, and so I said, well, what happens if you get people to do 3 events in a year? They're more likely to permanently change their habits. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the medal in 3. And we're going to make it magnetic, and we're not going to give people full medals anymore. The audience went nuts globally. I got 2,800 emails in like 4 hours. And I sat there and I responded to every one of those emails personally. And I learned how important this is to people. And I got into the psyche of our audience. So needless to say, now everybody gets a full medal and a 3rd because they were going to burn my house down. Like, can't get out of bed in the morning if I don't want to see my medal. It was like, wow.
How many trifectas do we have worldwide? I actually don't know the number, but it's how
Tri-
many trifecta holders do we have worldwide?
Oh, well, you get close to 100,000 per year. Or it was like 70,000 one year, 80-something thousand. So it was close to 100,000 per year. But George has all the numbers.
And what have you said has been the biggest challenge about growing the business from the US, from like 1, 2, 3, 4 races to this global brand, 42 countries around the world, 200 races a year?
You know, any country we go to, the hardest country to break into is Japan. Every meeting we had in Japan, they just said it wouldn't work, it was too hardcore, it didn't make sense, the fire, the barbed wire. And sure enough, when we opened up in Japan, finally it sold out. Like, human beings are human beings, doesn't matter what country we go to. So that was a big challenge. Thanks to Mark, thanks to Rakuten, they're helping us solve one of the big challenges, which is it's very hard to market one country. Try marketing in 42 countries simultaneously, appealing to nuances and cultures and so forth. And then just the challenge of all the different social channels, and it's that's the nightmare. Putting on events, thank God, knock on wood, we have the greatest teams in the world, like, no problem. It could be raining. We had the Pope in Italy, I don't know if you know the story. The Pope decided to close off access for us to where we were having our race. Normally we have 7 days to set up, and they were anointing a saint for the Vatican, so they shut us down, and they gave us 14 hours to set up the course. Normally we have 7 days. Team got it done, 14 hours. So I was like, why the fuck can't we do that everywhere? Oh, why do we need 7 days? Sorry, George. Any questions from you guys?
Yes, can you please talk about the dark side of Spartan?
Dark
The
side.
endurance.
The endurance side. Yeah, so we do crazy endurance, tip of the spear stuff, we'll call it, right? The hurricane heat. Hurricane heat was born. We had an actual hurricane rolled in an event in Boston, and we had to shut down the event. And it was the first time I had a very nasty response on social media, where we were attacked, and they were furious with me that I was ruining their lives because they couldn't race, but in fact it was the authorities. So I got so frustrated, I responded, I said, anybody who wants to race in the hurricane, I'll be there 5 a.m., we're going out in the hurricane. So this thing called the hurricane heat was born. And it could be 4 hours, 12 hours, we're doing 24-hour hurricane heats now. And that ladders up, that leads to something called the agoge, which in ancient Sparta was like 13 years of training. It actually means, I found out today from the Spartan professor, it's like the organizing of cattle or so forth and getting them through a system. And so that term applied to the 13 years of training for children, and so we do 60 hours of agoge, and then we have something called a death race, which is the pinnacle, which would be like the Spartans going to Thermopylae and getting killed. And so we do 72 hours death race, which is all hands on deck. You may or may not survive. I get to throw anything I want at you. To give you an idea of the death race, last year was it was about 24 hours of hiking with about 60 or 70% of your body weight. Then it was 3,000 burpees. Then it was a 26.2 mile barbed wire crawl. Then it was a 26.2 mile rope climb. And then it was supposed to be a 26.2 mile hike, but everybody was dearly dead. So we let 12 survive. So everybody here in this room is signed up for that in June. Sam will be giving out plane tickets. You'll get a black bag over your head when you walk out the door. Yes.
What's the secret no one knows about 2019 yet?
What secrets do we have in 2019 that nobody knows? Well, certainly you don't know what's in store at the death race. What other secrets do I have that, it seems like I have a plan and things are organized when something pops up, but it's usually last minute that I come up with some idea and I throw it out there. And like the $1 million purse, for example, wasn't really well thought out. And my board of directors went nuts. The insurance company bailed on us, so we self-insured. Yeah, so there's been some surprises that are even surprises for me that are coming. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Which Olympic Games do you think we might see Spartan in?
It's up to Stuart. He's got to get us in 2020, and you got to squeeze us in as an exhibition event in Tokyo. But either 28 is LA, right?
26.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's what we're shooting for. But we got to have a few exhibition events. I think we got something coming at the SEA Games, and we'll see.
Trail running, you're extending trail running?
So trail running, the idea there was we're already renting, making up a number, 200 venues around the world. There are a bunch of people that are just afraid of the obstacles. Trail running is in our roots. We put on trail races before we put on these events. So very quickly, with the snap of a finger, we could become the largest trail running series in the world. And so we launched trail running. Actually, Trail Runner magazine had reached out, and that helped launch that. Surprise! That was a surprise. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I just ask a question based on the point of gender diversity and that. With the obstacles that have like a weight associated with them, and referred to as like the men's weight and the women's weight, like I forgot to do the men's weight, and then so I know you're not supposed to do the women's weight, and vice versa, so men do.
So the question is about this gender-neutral brand. There's two weights, and you always go to the men's weight. Sometimes, that's how you feel. For 2019, one of the surprises is the women's weights are going to be heavier than the men's. I'm kidding. This is a terrible answer. I gotta be careful what I say with George in the room, but we require roughly 1,000 volunteers on average around the world at every event. So that's a couple of 100,000 people, and we gotta get better at training. Right? We should have men's, women's, and then aggressive women. It should be even heavier than both of them, right? Yeah.
Joe, we've got 4 guys from Rakuten here, and some guys. These 4 guys are from 4, if you won't reach it.
Yeah.
There's probably 35-40 in a race from
40.
40. Trying to reach Stuart, but they're going to basically pull a cool team together. So can you tell me a little bit more about, from the US perspective, what you're seeing in progress in that role of health and wellness within the
Yeah. So first of all, we have 1.1 million participants a year. Everybody works somewhere. So really, the entire audience is a corporate audience, and almost very few people sign up alone. So we see them all in teams. The teams that come out of companies, when we talk to those companies, we're talking tens of thousands around the world. It builds a better bond. And we spoke about it at Cambridge today with the Spartan professor. They recognized back in the ancient world that going through something tough together builds unbreakable bonds. So forget about the health and wellness benefits. The strength of the team just becomes unbreakable. She thought she was going to get looped into one of the teams. Like, I'm out of here. I'm not. These people are nuts. I'm in the wrong meeting.
So, what about making use of it? What about making use of the obstacle course equipment in between races and creating training camps?
You know, everybody asks about building like training centers and using the obstacles. It doesn't really work. The reason it doesn't work is I think the excitement around this business is the fact that there's 7,000 or 8,000 people there. We've done it, and when you've just got a few people, it just doesn't have that same electricity, that same excitement. So,
And I thought the 2019 challenge was going to be the
oh, that's right. So tell them about. So he's got a company called 1 Year No Beer.
Yeah.
Right, and we're partnered, and the idea is to drink a little bit less. And this country clearly has problems. I've been asked, like, I've been in country 24 hours. I've been asked 12 times to go have a drink. It started at 9 a.m. I don't know. Right? And I was like, you guys have a problem. And so you're having an enormous amount of people are coming to learn. It's bizarre to me. I don't want to say this, like, I feel bad saying this, but like, I can't believe you need a book to learn how not to drink. Yeah, I don't know, but they buy the book and you drink a little less. Hopefully a lot less.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a lot more together in 2019, thanks to the partnership with Spartan. But really, we help people change their relationship with alcohol, and it's a great thing. You know, if you're thinking about taking 90 days off booze or something else like that, have a Spartan at the end of it, and so it's much more that sort of collaboration. And we're working a lot in the corporate space as well.
Yeah.
Joe,
Yes.
I'm biased, so I'll declare my bias. I'm an investor in Dry Road and in a brand called Kit Bricks. But if I said to you, equipment-wise, outside craft, what's the equipment that matters most in terms of becoming a world-class athlete?
You know what's funny is we had the Olympic committees come to a few races as we make this bid to try to get in the Olympics, and we had a 74-year-old Klaus was his name leading this committee at one particular race, and he was just checking it out and seeing if this was something that could be an Olympic event. And his one comment was, "Your people are barbaric. They have no shirts on. They have no equipment, no gear, so it's very minimalistic. You don't really need much to thrive, which is nice. But you can make it a little easier, right?
But if I said to you, your go-to organizational habit, or what is the piece of equipment there?
Well, so a couple of things. One is grip strength is really key. You want to be able to hit the spear target because you don't want to do your 30 burpees, so you probably should have a practice spear at home. Grip strength I get from the kettlebell, from carrying it around, but obviously you can do other things.
Yeah.
I would say pull-up bar, some sort of pull-up bar, right? Get your grip strength. Maybe gloves. I think most people probably need gloves because we're all getting softer hands with the typing all day, every day, and then throw a spear not at the house, but maybe away from the house in the backyard. Often it's burpee stuff. I don't know if that was a good answer or not.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
Just wondering, with the step towards the Olympics, you've got to standardise the development of the sport. So how do you then balance the innovation? Because the open class races like zip wires, and they like the gladiators with pupil sticks, and they like fun obstacles. But obviously you've got to find that balance between the
You gotta find it's a tough balance. I said to myself very early on, I did not want to be in the obstacle. I didn't want to have to come up with new obstacles every year. I don't know if you remember that TV show years ago, Happy Days, but they call it jumping the shark, right? Because you're just doing something silly to make a bunch of noise, right? And so I never wanted to do that, but there are enhancements to the obstacles which make like a twister, right? So it's a fine line. How do you not keep coming up with silly things to standardize and make, but also keep some excitement around. I don't have the answer to that.
And then back to the Olympics, what's been the biggest challenge to get the sport recognised as a
Well, so the biggest thing is you have to have governing bodies in 42 countries. So we've been working feverishly to get that, and then I got to get Klaus to like us. But Klaus, and I use Klaus figuratively to discuss the Olympics in general. They feel that triathlon took, I'm making up a number, 15, 18 years, and so you got to do the work. And so it's just this red tape, difficult process. The good news is we fit what they're looking for. We've got a tremendous audience, a young audience, and that's why they bring things like skateboard and surfing and so forth, rock climbing. Good. More? Yes.
To what extent do you work with other obstacle course race companies to, like, for example, you said about getting recognised in the Olympics and so forth?
It's tough. It's really hard because my belief from the beginning has been if you've got multiple world championships going on and you've got confusion around sponsorship, you've got confusion around organizing bodies, that's not good. When I look at the history of like BMX or any sport that was up in adventure racing, when it was very disparate and mom and pop and all kinds of things and confusion for the consumer and potential sponsors, it did not help. So although we may come across as very standoffish, there's a reason why we're trying to organize and create one brand, one style. I don't know if it's a good answer, but that's the way we think.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I mean, really, because I don't know about other countries, but here there's a few other brands, and when people ask me before, what is it that you're doing, because I think it's raising last year.
Yeah.
Depending on who you speak to, sometimes I say, oh, it's a little bit like stuff my level, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much confusion there is in other countries about.
There was a ton of confusion in the early days because there were 800. I had 800 competitors in the U.S. Anybody with a hammer and a screw gun was an obstacle race organization, and we're down to a few. And so very much like television or the automobile industry or anything new, there is a ton of people that come in, and then there's a few that survive. I'm betting on our survival. So, yeah.
What keeps you going?
What keeps me going? I got 4 children. I got to pay the bills. I'm trying to pack like 10 lifetimes in one. Like I saw my mom die at a young age, my dad died, people I know died, people went to jail around me, and like, we're not here very long. Nobody gets out alive. And so I'm just trying to like have no regrets, just pack it all in. And I heard if we help change 100 million lives, I got a free pass to heaven. Doesn't matter what I did.
Quick question, I was getting late, so I'm asking about the answer to this. What was the tipping point when you knew this had gone from being a hobby to a business?
I was running out of money. It was costing me $300,000 a month in the early days, which I didn't have. And I said to everybody, look, the most I could pay you, you'll appreciate this, Sam, is I said, we're paying everybody $2,000 a month. Because I did the math, how many employees we had, it's $2,000 a month. And 99% of the people stayed on at $2,000 a month. One person left. And I had a very young CFO who slept in the office. We had a mattress in the office. Okay, the office was much smaller than this room. There were more people in it, and this guy slept on the floor. And one day, he said we had 800 signups yesterday. And I said, you must have a bad formula in your Excel. Fred, we were getting like 80 signups a day, which wasn't enough. Burn is $300,000 a month. And he checks and we had 800 signups. And what finally happened, I'm convinced, is there was a network effect, right? Because we were everywhere. Somebody in this country was talking to somebody, and it just happened. And it went from very cloud, dark days to a sunny day. By the way, we had lots of trouble with that still, but that was the day. So I don't know how much longer I would have made. I was hanging on.
Did you find it
Who said I let it go? I thought about that today. This is the first time I'm in this office, and I looked and I listened to Sam, and I looked at the team, and I listened to the team, and I thought, wow, these are smart people that work for us, and they're good, and this is a really nice office, and I thought sometimes maybe just stepping back and letting people run is like that's clearly what happened here in the UK. You guys just get it done, and girls. So you just can't keep up with it. It's 42 countries. I can't even keep up with it, right? I think I'm making it. I don't do anything, right? I don't do very much. So it's them. They do it. Good job. Good job. What else? Burpees. So today, I kid you not, you got to hear this, Stuart. Talking to the Spartan professor, not on cue, like wasn't set up, he didn't get prepped. He described an exercise they would do in Sparta 22,000 plus years ago that sounds like a burpee. And so I'm investigating this because could it be that they invented the burpee?